the market is slowly recovering. If you look at the market on a shorter time span, yes, you are looking at red numbers, but on a yearly, you are 268% up. Now, in a market, when you are slowly bouncing back, the total market cap is nearing $1.5 trillion. Remember, you are in some coins which have lasted through a lot of these crashes. This historical snapshot highlights all the way back from 2013 December, and what you are looking at is Bitcoin, Litecoin, XRP. And if you are an XRP holder, be proud, because you have already seen a ton of these crashes and you were never going bankrupt, you were never going to zero. So if you want to put that into perspective for this bull market, look at what you are looking at now. We had a 65% drop in 2020 March. Fine, great. Then we pushed back up, and if you look at that, the bottom wick was like 25%. Now, what we were discussing previously was about 25% wick back up by the time of 0.64. Right now, the price is near 0.675. So that means the price is moving even higher, and that's actually a bullish news for majority of us, right? When we look at this, it kind of gives us that clarity that yes, we dropped, but we are recovering. And we are recovering from where? On a weekly chart, we came back to the 50-day moving average, and right now we are slowly bouncing back to the upside. Now, that's somewhat what you're looking at from 2020 to this time. Now, if you zoom back to get that whole picture from the 2 years, 3 years cycle, now this is what you are looking at, and that's not a small deal, because you are going up, fine, dealing with this long-term resistance, great. But now what you're looking at here is the times when the RSI dipped into this bottom. Now that's oversold territory, meaning the price is going too low too soon and a huge buying opportunity. So if you are using that as a buying opportunity, that's great for you, because the Bitcoin dominance is showing you that it's trying to move to the upside. It's slowly getting bounced, but it has a long resistance range in front of it. For it to continue higher, it needs to make higher highs. But the positive step for the Bitcoin dominance there on a daily is that it's getting a bullish cross. The 20-day moving average is right now crossing the 50-day moving average. That's actually a bullish cross. But looking at the Bitcoin price on a daily, it's something just opposite. What you can understand there is red line, which is the 200-day moving average, is right now crossed by the 50-day moving average to the downside, which is called a death cross. Now, whenever a death cross happens, we are looking for a downward momentum. But in a bull market, that happens in a different manner. Meaning, you may consolidate here instead of continuing higher in a bull market. Now look at the RSI. When looking at the RSI, the point which you understand there is clear. We are nearing a breakout, but yes, we need to go through this and break out. The MACD was initially crossing to the downside, but eventually, it's turning back to the upside, and that's actually a bullish news in a consolidative and bullish market. So the market is trending high. It's now in a bullish phase, so it came up, it's consolidating. Now it may consolidate long enough before it actually goes up. Now, why is that? When we look at the altcoin to BTC pair, we get that point. It came back, it's bouncing, so that means the previous resistance is right now acting as a support. That's cool. The RSI is bouncing from the overbought territory. You are moving higher in BTC pair, so BTC will not be having that momentum. Now, yeah, at the same time, you also need to look at the BTC dominance to understand how the market is actually evolving with respect to that side of it, right? So when you jump into the BTC dominance on not too short time span, I'll take you to a monthly time span where it would be more engaging for you to understand. Yeah, the market is being going like this, and right now, as we just talked here, it's looking like we are entering into the resistance range. But when you zoom in to clearly get the point, what are you eyeing at? This is a resistance line which you would be looking to pass through as you move up. Now, if you are getting rejected, that means the Bitcoin dominance is going to continue lower. Now, based on history, we know that eventually when the price is actually moving to the downside, say if you look at this from this point, you move to the downside, then you went up, fine, then you again went down. Now you put that into perspective here, you broke below this long-term trending line and then you're coming back to the downside. Now this is happening at a time when the market is bearish. You got cross to the upside where it's kind of showing you bullish strength, but it's coming back down to cross to the downside. So that's the consolidation which is happening there before the market goes and create a new lower low here. So that's something which you need to keep in your mind as you move forward. Now we'll have charts, we'll have all these discussions because these are important points and we'll explain through them. But you also have to understand there is something happening outside of this. The executives sees a use of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs and corporate digital currencies. So that means it's going to go higher. The adoption rate is increasing. But at the same time, this is really important. It actually shows you Bitcoin is not a payment mechanism today. It's more of an investable asset. Fine. So here crypto.com is sponsoring that. Why? They want to lure in more and more investors into this. Say for example, if you believe Bitcoin is going to hit $100,000, $120,000, whatever you believe, from here, what's the rate of return? If that's enough for you, great. You can perfectly jump into that asset. Now, if you are looking for a higher rate of return, you would be looking at all the different stuffs. Right now, this is happening in US. The central bank, which is the Fed, is right now highlighting that the banks are fine. They stress tested, everything is fine. There is no problem like Lehman Brothers coming back. This is something what they are highlighting. But when you look at the squeezing market right now, that's not a small deal. They're again gonna put in all of this. Look at the historical fluctuation and where you are right now. So if it's crashing back to even test the support here at the 400 mark, that's a 50% drop in the market. Now if it gets lower than that, that's wiping out a ton of individuals. At the same time, you look at the rate. In the repo market, the rates are slowly turning. In recent videos, I just highlighted how it would be priced in the market. And right now, the federal banks, central banks are right now doing that in different countries. And that's not a good thing to see if the money is being sucked out of the market. Decreasing, when central bank decrease the interest rate, they're pushing money into the market. When they're increasing it, they're sucking that out of it. So when money moves out of the market, you need to understand which asset you're in. When the money is eventually moving out of the market, say a bear market, maybe in a year or 1.5 years, you need to understand whether your asset has already gone through substantial drops and survived those crashes. If it has actually done that multiple times in the market cycle waves, yeah, it should be fine that even this one, it will go through. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Now, I know that was a lengthy intro, but the information which you're going to digest today is that much important. So let's jump into that one. Now, look at this. We're coming back into this range. We kind of came back. Fine, we bounced towards 1.1, then we came back down. A lot of people were wiped out. If you are leveraging this market and you are kind of going for everything you can get in a couple of days, that's how the market behaves. It just comes back in, kick you out, and then continue higher. So if you are someone who is not leveraging, then it's fine. You're still in the market. When the market is recovering, your portfolio is recovering, and that's what you see, what history shows. Now, it's not the long-term history. It's about the recent fluctuations in this market, this cycle from 2020. If you are looking at this, yeah, we drop, but we also bounce back up, create a new high each time. That's really huge. So if you put that into perspective, here it was 0.11. Fine, you went up to 0.8. Now that's 7x in profit. That's not a bad deal. You came back down to 0.17. Then you went up towards $2. That's like 10x, 12x there. Now these are not small numbers. At first you got 7, next you got 12. So what's next? 15x? 20x? We don't know. Put that into perspective. You will understand what we are talking about. $6 towards $10 pricing. That's not something too huge, but Yes, it is for a lot of us who have already bought in at 0.2, 0.3. We have averaged down to this range. So when the price reaches that $3 marks, they're already 10x, $6 mark, 20x, $9 mark, 30x. Now that's not a bad deal. So what you are looking at right now is a market which popped 500% after this drop here, then consolidated for a long time. Now in between that, as we talked last time, we had wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. So these three wave structure was there. Then you had this drop, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 still there. Right now what you're looking at is a move towards $1, which would be wave 1, then a little bit of correction, after which again a pump towards $2, a correction, or just above that, say $2 to $3 and a correction, then pumping from there towards $6 to $10 mark. Now why do we actually support that kind of a scenario playing out? Because in a Bitcoin is kind of in a slowing market where it's not completely turning bearish, because it created a higher high, then it created a lower low, but it's like an indecision area where it's not giving you a proper trend. Now if it's creating a higher high, yeah, that's moving much towards bullish momentum, but if it's actually moving to the downside, that's not the case, right? So right now you are in an indecision phase, and as you look at the history, you look fine. Even though it's indecision for 3 months, 5 months, long term, next 1 year, 1.5 years, that's still having a trend higher. So the macro trend is your friend. Now, look at that in XRP BTC pair. We have actually moved through, we hit this first level of resistance, we consolidated just below that for some time, the moving average zone acted as a support and you bounced, fine. Now we are going back up, you come back down, this support range is right now the 200-day moving average along with the trend line support turned to resistance turned support. Now when you understand this, you also look at the RSI and its range. So right now RSI is the bottom, and eventually whenever it reaches the bottom, it then go back to the top. So market behaves in a cyclical manner where if you have patience, you are fine. And if you are a value investor, or even if you consider yourself as a value investor, patience is your best tool. If you say you are a value investor and you don't have patience, that's not going to work out, because a value investor comes in the market so early, right? That's when they get the most value, meaning the price is so low, the value is still the same or rising, and they are buying it for a cheap price. What happens? The price is low. So in order to that price to match up the value, it needs to go a lot higher, and that may take a long time. So if you came in early, you're the wise man. You need to now wait till the top, and that takes a long time. Now let's actually put that into perspective using the altcoin market cap. So when you look at the altcoin market cap here, yeah, the long wick on a monthly is still there. It's showing you that kind of like a glitch or a long wick. But when you move into the daily, that's kind of a positive stuff, right? The price went lower, way lower than you anticipated, and then it came back up, meaning even if it's actually going lower, a ton of buyers are there thinking that this is a huge discounted sale for this asset class, because they understand it. Now what's the huge stuff you have to consider here? This is the trend here, trending lower, fine. In the RSI you had similar trend, but if you look at this one, it trend lower from here, great, but from here it's slowly changing. So if you actually take a trend line and plot this one, now if you plot this one here, what you are looking at is a change, a divergence on a daily for the altcoin market cap. So here you're slowly trending to the upside. If you take it from the bottom, yeah, that's kind of a double bottom moving to the upside. You're showing that we are going to continue higher, and the price is making lower lows there. Now when you put that in the perspective, you can find your top here, you're trending lower. Then the momentum actually changed. The momentum moved to the downside. Right now when you come back up, this level of support, which has been acting as a support for resistance for a long term here, nothing would be better to put it like this, fine. You see this as you actually come across, now you see, okay, the price need to go back above this so that it's back into that trading range. Now that's on the RSI side of it. Now if you actually look in for the MACD, you're in the bottom. So if you're rounding back up, that's again a double bottom which is given in the MACD. Now that's not actually a bad deal when you look at this stuff on a longer time frame, because on a longer time frame you understand that we had a all-time highs. Right now we are coming back to retest that range and it's kind of holding. But the problem here is you need to consolidate, because on the history side of this, it came back, it retested that range, was like 300 days of consolidation. So if you don't have time, it's going to really hurt you in this market. Because if you look at different asset class, say for example, we actually do a lot of charts, right? We go through a lot of different assets for you guys so that you understand, okay, that's an opportunity. This is what the market shows at the right time. This is what the target of wave 2 top for this asset. You know, if you have a lot of different assets, that's going to be helpful for your portfolio. And if you want that, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. Now, back to this topic. When you're looking at Ether, it's something similar to altcoin market cap. Why is that? Because Ether and XRP is one among the positions which are really high in market cap within the altcoins, right? So when Ether is showing you this, or the altcoin market cap is showing you that, it's kind of in a way that, okay, fine, that's like it's going to consolidate here because it went above the all-time highs, and the history part of this shows that clearly. Now, fine, great. What does the same do with XRP? So if you put that into perspective on a monthly chart, when you were going higher, you were not actually consolidating at that point. You started consolidating. If you take that into percentage, you started consolidating. Say for example, you actually went like 6x above the all-time highs, then you came back down, still double the all-time high, right? And then consolidated there for some time and moved higher. So putting that into perspective is so easy, because we know that the previous all-time high is here, and if you put that 100% there, now we are looking at $7.88, $7.88 to the upside when we come back down. Meaning, say if you are grinding to the upside and moving higher, then you're coming back down to retest this and then continue higher. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go to $100, $200 right now and coming back. That's just an error. If you consider, it would go above that range, say $8, $10, $12, and then come back down to this range, make it as a support and go back up. So the impulse which we see here would be locating us towards $10, and the wave structure would be pointing us towards $15, $16, $17, or if we get a long extended wave, yeah, we are going to reach $20 and then come back to $7. So that's this consolidation period before the wave 3. So if you are ready for this, that's actually great, cool. But if you don't find this one, take your profits, don't be greedy, step outside the market, buy the top of wave 2. If you have time, if you have patience, yeah, still take a little bit of profit, because from here you're moving up and that's not a small deal. And as that happens in the market, you are now fine, because you're taking a little bit of profit, 20, 30, 40, 50%, whatever you like, and then waiting for the long run. In this market, always try to focus on which asset you're investing, what that asset is doing, how it's actually moving. So the return rates and historical return rates here for, let's say, at least 1 year, that gives you the perspective of which asset just pumped too much, where you should be cautious, right? So here you see a Dogecoin and it's showing you enormous rate of return there. Cardano, yeah, it pumped, nothing like Doge. Binance Coin, it went up, nothing like the others. So 18x, 15x, 30x, what's your gain there? Fine. Now it's so easy. You can just go into this market, look at those assets which have gained enormously, right? Keep them outside. Now, if you're looking at the coins which are having fundamentals, that would give you a perspective where your coin is going to do better. Don't try to focus on finding an asset which is going to do way better than others. Instead, just try to avoid coins which have outperformed the market. Say if you look at some coins like, say for example, Matic here, when you look at Matic, you can actually see that it actually did crazy upside. So that was huge. From the bottom, if you are putting that into perspective, it went like 1000x till that top, right? Near 1000x. That's not a bad deal. It can even go 200, 300, 400% from that top, and that will make it like 4000x. Great. But what do you get if you're entering from this support level? That's the question there. So always decide well before you put your money into this market. Understand the perspective. Enter when it is red, not chasing the green candles, because when you chase the green candles, you may not be able to get the clear picture there. If you look at BTC, this right now on a daily chart, if you put that in perspective, it's not a bad stuff. What you can do is this day candle, if we are closing in green, now go back and see how many times we have closed 3 green candles in recent time. I can't actually see any of 3 candles which have been there except here. So that's March 21. So if you actually take that in a number of days after this session, it's right now 80 days. So it's happening after 80 days, after 3 months, that we are getting 3 bullish candles. But right now, that candles happen to be below this level. Now, when you plot it just with a horizontal line, it's really confusing. Instead, you find this first support, then the last resistance, and try to join that. That's your support resistance zone. So if you are above 36, that's bullish. But the top here can be 42 or the moving average here of 40. Now, as you go higher, if it's breaking that range, then the 200-day moving average on a daily would be acting as a resistance. Fine. So I hope you actually understood that one. And if you really did receive value for your time, please do support the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want these kind of updates on a real time for your portfolio, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description, where you get a ton of value for a little bit of money. Now, I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.